thing that I have found across the years working with fintech is never, ever, ever take it for granted because trust is one of those things that is integral to relationship building. And finance is a very sensitive subject, irrespective of which income bracket you come from or which income level you're currently in.
Welcome to Frank Growth. I'm Jason Shafton, and I run the growth consulting firm Winston Francois. Around here, we tell the truth about growing, the good, the bad, and the can't say it out loud ugly. Every episode, we get tactical with operators, investors, and builders about what works, what breaks, and what to do next. No fluff, no vanity metrics, and no hustle theater. Just signal. That's Frank Growth. Let's get into it. Today, we've got Divya Ramaswamy, one product, two businesses, how Super.com grows across travel and fintech. Before we bring her on, here's a quick riff on today's topic. Most growth teams pick a lane, acquire customers for this product, retain them for that one, clean, logical, manageable. Super.com doesn't get that luxury. They're running one growth function across a travel marketplace and a fintech suite. Same customers, wildly different behaviors, totally different trust dynamics. Three things make this hard. No single trigger. A customer who books a hotel doesn't automatically become a credit builder. The conversion isn't obvious, and the team is still mapping the signals. Two, different trust thresholds. Booking a cheap hotel and handing over your financial data are completely different asks. Building both on one brand is its own discipline. And finally, lean team and wide surface. 16 people covering flights, hotels, cash advance, credit, direct deposits, cashback, and now pharma product. That's a serious span of control. What makes it work or not work is the membership flywheel. Super Plus ties it all together. The bet is that a customer who joins for travel becomes a fintech customer over time. That's the frame we'll use with Divya. Now let's get tactical. Divya, welcome to Frank Growth.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you here. When I reached out and saw your background about what you're building at Super.com, I wanted to dig in. You're running growth across travel and fintech at the same time, serving a customer segment that premium brands typically walk right past. There's a lot to unpack here. Before we get into the mechanics of everything you're working on, in one sentence, what is Super?
Super.com is a company that aims to create a super valuable membership, no pun intended, for the everyday American. And we do this by facilitating earnings and savings across all walks of their life. That was 1.5 sentences.
It was awesome. I loved it. You cover at Super acquisition, activation, retention, and cross-sell for both travel and fintech. What does that actually look like as a day-to-day operating model?
It's a really fun model in that this has been an interesting and atypical growth role in that usual growth or performance marketing roles are pretty heavy on the acquisition side. But here it's an interesting setup where as a team, we very, very actively look at both acquisition as well as life cycle and retention. But we have the amazing privilege to collaborate with our product and engineering and data and analytics teams to actually look at how customers use their product, what they do across the different parts of the funnel and the journey, and how their journey with us as customers. And what this means in practice is we're spending a lot of time brainstorming, we're testing and iterating like there's no tomorrow. There's a lot of looking at the data, crunching numbers, but also the analysis is as important because sometimes you're sitting on mountains of data and you don't quite know what to do with it. But we spend a lot of time, I would say a disproportionate amount of time on the analytics part rather than on the data part. It's a lot of conversations, lots of testing, lots of production, lots of creative work as well.
Most companies silo growth by product line. You're kind of running one function across categories that don't behave the same way. What's the upside of that and what makes it harder?
The upside of it is personally very nice for my variety seeking behavior because I like doing multiple things at the same time. But as a business and as a set of people, it's also really exciting because we can use facets and learnings from one part of the product and the journey across others. So there's always enough similarity that keeps it consistent and rigorous, but there's also enough difference that actually helps us build products differently and build customer journeys differently. So the hard part is exactly that. So that is probably the tougher part, and that context switching is a real thing when you're looking across so many different products. And there are days when I'm like, wait, I just need to take a breath and then recalibrate and go back to what I was working on.
Walk us through the Super Plus membership flywheel. Why is membership the engine and not just a perk layer on top?
It's an amazing product and it's an amazing construct as well, because what it really does is it ties together seemingly disparate things. Because it would be very easy as a customer to walk into one part of the product and then be like, hey, I came here to book a hotel. So why are you talking to me about all of these different things? Or what should I be looking for? That really comes together with the membership, and that there's so many value moments or so many benefits that are offered to customers. So think of it as a really nice house and all of the different products or the rooms. I think this is my favorite analogy because you need the kitchen, you need the bedroom, you need the bathroom. So you might go in to use one room for a while, but then there are all these other nice places that you can go and cozy up in. So allowing people to save across different walks of their life because you spend everywhere, whether it's groceries, gas, hotels, or gifts. And our subscription really ties everything together really nicely because you have cashbacks, you save on hotels, you can get a cash advance when you want quick cash. So it really seamlessly ties all of that in together. Initially, while it might seem like they're not connected, it just is a good way to be there and enjoy all of those benefits.
Excellent. Tell me about the customer that you're really building for. Who is she and why does her growth story look different from a typical kind of fintech acquisition play?
One of the things that we saw while we were Snap Travel, a travel product, is that because we have extremely good prices and people from all walks of life could actually afford hotels and travel even for leisure, we looked at what our customers wanted, what their pain points were, and whether there were other people in the market aiming to solve those pain points. And there, I think we came up a little short in that there are not that many, to your point, companies or businesses that look at customers who are on the lower income side of things, might not have access to credit, don't necessarily have bank account, prefer cheaper or inexpensive accommodations. And then when we looked at what we are able to offer, as a company, we're great at solving problems. A set of people were always looking for interesting challenges. And here there was just these green fields because we have very strong performance marketing, we have great distribution, we're able to provide really competitive prices, and it can only go up from there. We were like, fine, let's solve all of these problems for people as best as we can. And that led to the growth of our fintech set of products as well.
So a customer, let's say they book a $79 hotel. How do you turn that into a fintech relationship? And why is that conversion tricky?
That is probably one of the biggest challenges, which goes back to how strong intent is and how sometimes it's really difficult to tell that story of why you should actually go and explore other products. Because very often when people come in to book one particular hotel or buy a particular product, they're not necessarily looking to do other things. And cross sell, I think, despite the industry that you come from, is always kind of hard. So we think about it as value moments, product benefits, and product usage. Because trying to break that into brass tacks is much easier as thinking about this huge thing, which is cross sell. It's like, what immediate benefits will you get in addition to a hotel? So, are you buying a pair of headphones that you would like a cashback on? Are you buying an eye mask for your plane journey? Or are you driving to your hotel? So, you need to save on gas. So, we look at adjacent products that can talk to a customer's need at the best manner in that particular point, and then we work through that. So is it a direct transference from travel to fintech? No. But are we building the journey to help customers understand all of those benefits and actually invest their time and attention with us? Yes.
What signals, if any, are you actually acting on to predict cross product adoption? Or is it the team kind of still figuring that out?
There are definitely few more specific signals that we can see in terms of customer journeys, as well as we actually ask them. So ask and you will get. So very often we, as part of our user research, we ask our existing customers as well as new potentially interested customers what they'd like to buy from us, what they'd like to buy in general, and how they perceive our product. So some of the things that we use is patterns in terms of booking. How many hotels have they booked in X amount of time? Along with the hotel, have they gone and booked something else? I think frequency is one of the more interesting ones, and it's also very actionable on. And at any point in time, if they bucket different things, so if you got a cash advance and then you go and play a game, or you've played multiple games and you're interested in taking a survey. So we try to draw in those patterns. Are they always easy to get? No, but we are able to discernibly find certain trends that we can use effectively to communicate with them.
You've said that your channel strategy is built around customer context, not product category. What does that mean in practice?
What it means is we want to use actual human behavior to talk to customers because it's really easy to think about everything from a business or a product standpoint, and that really does not translate because ultimately we're not selling products. We're selling solutions to problems, or we're selling opportunities for a gap that people have in their lives. So finding customers where they are, talking to them in a way that makes sense to them is obviously the way to go, at least for me, and the way that my team and I think about messaging. Because does it make sense to come and say, hey, just get a hotel? No, you're going somewhere. You want to make an experience. You want to build something out of it. So ensuring that we're to the point, but we're also telling the story in a way that is compelling for customers. So find them where they are, speak regular language and don't use business parlance and jargon, I think is really helpful.
Google and Facebook serve very different intents. How do you run messaging for hotels and cash advance on the same platforms without one kind of undermining the other?
The good part is there's space for every channel, and the ecosystem is very, very large. At any point in time, I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface. Google serves a very specific need, which is increasing in scope as we speak. The kind of products they have is very interesting, and the kind of experiments that we're able to run on their different products is amazing as well. The pace of iteration is great. But fundamentally, it's people looking for something. So you have keywords, search queries, and as long as we're able to capture the demand effectively, it is a channel that consistently produces. Meta is kind of similar but different as well because you have more of that storytelling component more immediately. Because text ads are still a lot blander than visuals are. Unlike with Meta, where we do use a lot of images, static, GIFs, animation, videos. So the storytelling, I think, is a little more compelling. And it's also a crossbreed between social and just purely problem solving. So I think getting the tone right on Meta is often a lot more important. Whereas being factual on the Google side of things makes everybody's life easier.
Your customer has a different relationship with financial trust than, say, a Chase or an Amex customer. What does building that trust actually require beyond, what you just talked about, performance marketing?
Thing that I have found across the years working with fintech is never, ever, ever take it for granted because trust is one of those things that is integral to relationship building. And finance is a very sensitive subject, irrespective of which income bracket you come from or which income level you're currently in. So, consistently building that trust by delivering on what we say we will provide and ensuring that we have really, really strong customer support. We have a very good customer support team and we have very strict SLAs for ourselves to ensure that people have access to information, they have access to people. So ensuring basically the product is sound, talking about what we can do and being very clear about what we can't do, and ensuring that we always are available to solve problems in a way that's meaningful for our customers.
You recently leaned into brand marketing in a really big way, subway ads, out of home in New York. What made now the right time to do that? And what were you actually trying to shift in the customer's mind?
We want it to be more accessible and more visible because brand marketing is amazing. And I think it's a really exciting facet that a lot of companies that grow up in the world of performance marketing don't quite know how to crack. So, this was our first foray into telling people exactly who we are, what we do. We have a lovely brand profile, we have delightful colors, we have this adorable mascot called Spotty, and we want to get the message out to people. And we also, I think, want to start training ourselves in that muscle because brand is not always instantly measurable. Very often it's not. But it also goes back to some of what we just spoke about in the trust department. So the more people see us, the more they know we exist and that we're available where they are. I think that really helps in building the profile of the company. And in general, I think the more people see you, the more they will react positively to you. It was a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, and New York subway is such a fun canvas. In an AI saturated content environment, you made a deliberate bet on quality creative. Why did that bet make sense right now?
Because of the human connection, especially, there's been a lot that has been said and written about AI. I don't think I'm going to be able to meaningfully add to it. And everyone's caught up in what happens to our lives. How does it fundamentally change? Is AI going to take over everything? It would be great if it takes over certain things. But there are also just aspects of communication and trust and understanding that at least I don't think can be replaced at this point. So ensuring that there's that human connect, there's that engagement value, and we're talking to people the way they would like to be spoken to is really important. And doing that through creative, whether it's performance creative or even through branding. Recently, we've become the official savings partner of NASCAR. We know a lot of our customers are there. We know there's huge engagement, there's huge connect. So it's an amazing way to build resonance across our products and our messaging.
So you actually have a one creative team that is covering hotels, flights, cash advance, credit, cashback, and now I think, a pharma product. How do you maintain a coherent brand voice across that much surface area?
One, it's a brilliant team, so I owe a huge debt of gratitude to them. It
Hmm,
is a lot. Starting Establishing the starting point and being very clear again about what we will do and what we won't do, I think comes back to the crux of how effective we can be as a lean team. So we have very clear brand guidelines. We know what we want to say, how we want to say it. The good thing is, in some ways, the overlap between different products and customers is not as huge as it could be. That's a huge opportunity for us as a company and as a set of products. We can still talk reasonably differently about the hotel product as compared to, say, our earnings product because the intent is very different. Do we have the most cohesive tone as yet? No. We know how to get there. We know how we'd like to get there. It's going to take a while.
makes sense. What's the most underrated growth lever you've found at super.com? Something that works, but that most teams wouldn't think to try?
This is something that I've mulled over a lot. And I think it comes back to prioritization in its most basic sense. And that sounds a little bit cliched, but when you think of the number of things that we do at any given point in time, the amount of testing and learning and iterating that we're doing, being really able to focus and narrow that focus down to a point where we can ignore distractions is incredibly important. Do we always get it right? No. But is the aim always to get it right and ensure that we ruthlessly prioritize? Yes. So with our OKR systems and the fact that we reassess them every quarter, we talk about it as a company, we talk about it as a team. So we know exactly where our priorities are. And we're getting very comfortable with saying no to things that could be a distraction. And I think that's a pretty underutilized way of thinking about business and priorities across most companies that I've been in. And here, I think we've built that muscle very well.
What's one hard lesson from growing a multi product, multi demographic company that you'd want other growth leaders to hear?
Being able to consistently test in a way that is meaningful to your company culture and your company DNA is very, very important. I think sometimes we can fall into the trap of testing for the sake of it. At super.com, we're really good at not doing that. But I also know that as we work on so many things, just the compulsion to work our way into different kinds of data or try to pick up different trends and patterns can be extremely tough. So being able to test in a way that's meaningful and also being able to test within a product construct and kind of to the earlier part of our conversation where we're talking about so many different products, you might not test on cash advance the same way that you test on hotels, whether it's advertising, whether it's product, whether it's funnels. So being very specific about what we're testing, why we want to test, and what the expected KPIs are, and also embracing failure. Because with the rapid iteration of tests, most of them are going to fail, and that's fine as long as we're learning and we're not doing the same things again.
If you had to give one piece of advice to a growth leader dealing with a complex product portfolio like yours, what would that be?
I'd say two things. One is embrace the chaos
Hmm.
and trust the method and trust the people that you work with. Because we're all working towards the same goals. And when you build a really strong team around you, there's just so much flexibility and so much skill and room to grow that you give yourself and your company. So that I think is really, really important. The metrics will take care of themselves, the testing will take care of itself, but really grow a team that you trust and that is very, very skilled and smart and kind.
I like it. All right, quick lightning round. Quick hits, first instinct answers. You ready?
Okay, let's
All
go.
right. One metric that you look at every single week that maybe most growth teams are ignoring.
Return on ad spend, always.
One channel that's overrated right now.
Meta,
One channel that's underrated.
Google paid search.
What's the best $15 your customer ever spent? How do you make the Super Plus membership feel like the easiest yes they've made all month?
When you get a cashback or when you book a really inexpensive, highly rated hotel,
Here, finish this sentence. Most growth leaders are too focused on acquisition and not focused enough on
retention.
one thing you'd wish you'd known before building a multi product growth function.
How difficult it's going to be and how fun it's going to be.
Divya, this was exactly the kind of real operator story that this show is built for. Where can people connect with you online and learn more about Super?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. And we post a lot of really good information about what super.com and the company is doing. And most of our fun companies there as well. You can also find me on Instagram. So there I am.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We'll include those links in the show notes. Just appreciate your time and all of your wisdom.
This was really great. Thank you.
That was Divya Ramaswamy and a clear look at what it actually takes to run one growth function across two very different businesses. Here are my quick top 3 from today. Remember these if you don't remember anything else. 1, the membership flywheel only works if every room in the house is worth visiting. Divya's analogy nailed it. Super Plus is the house, and the products are the rooms. The membership doesn't sell itself. You earn the cross-sell by making each product genuinely useful on its own. If customers only ever use the kitchen, you haven't failed the flywheel, you've just started it. 2, trust in fintech is never ever taken for granted, and it compounds both ways. Divya was direct. Finance is sensitive regardless of income level. You build trust by delivering what you said you would, keeping customer support tight, and being clear about what you can't do. Every broken promise costs more than the revenue it saved. Every kept one compounds. And 3, ruthless prioritization is the most underrated growth lever in a multi-product company. It's not a system or a framework. It's the discipline to say no to the distraction that looks like an opportunity. Divya's team reassesses OKRs every quarter, talks about priorities as a company, and practices getting comfortable saying no. That muscle, she said, is what lets a lean team cover this much surface area without losing focus. All right, here's one thing you can do this week in 10 minutes or less. Look at your current growth priorities and write down the last 3 things you said yes to. For each one, ask, was this the highest leverage thing we could have done? Or did we do it because it was interesting? If you can't answer that honestly, your prioritization muscle needs some work. Start there. That's Frank Growth. If this gave you something you can use this week, follow the show and share it with one operator or founder who needs it. I'm Jason Shafton from Winston Francois. We help tech companies build sustainable, repeatable growth with a proven operating system. Show notes and takeaways are in the description. Be frank and keep growing.